The recording has now started.
Okay.
The meeting is now being called to order. If you want to order a second coffee, Ross, we can see if we can do that. Sorry, tea.
Tea, thank you. Yeah.
You're a tea person.
You'll just have to pause the recording and I'll go and get my second cup.
That's why I got a big cup.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this evening's topic is Carrera cars. And just for what it's worth, today I also took a couple of Carrera cars to 10X. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with what kind of lap times you do on 10X's track. Does anybody have a sense of how quick they, or how, you know, what they consider a quick lap?
It's been too long for me to remember that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
A good lap is a well-tuned slotted Group C. I could get down to about 7.1, 7.0 something. So that is a well set up, well-tuned, quick slotted Group C.
At what voltage again?
I can't remember. It's probably at about 12.
Okay.
And it's yeah. So the two Carreras that I had there today, both of them were remotored, so they were bad examples. I took my BMW, which you can see on the monitor, but there was something hokey. It wouldn't go. I took it apart here, and I'm still not sure what was wrong. It was somewhere in the wiring. So that's something that I'll talk about this evening as well. In any case, I got one of the Carreras down to a 7.4. Now, that is probably quicker than most people have ever run any of their slots, except for perhaps somebody like John or somebody like that. It's so can they be made to go decently quickly? Yes. Will they beat a well set up slotted? No. Will they be, if you prepare your Carrera well, would it be somewhat comparable to an average slotted? Yes, it will be comparable. And it'll cost you a fair bit less. But they have some quirks. The first thing, I'm going to have to pin this video so that I can see it. Okay. By the way, guys, this BMW, it's difficult to see on screen, but this is the most extraordinary paint job that I've ever seen on a car. The green on this has a metallic sheen to it that is, this part is darker green, but along the sides here, it's like a mirror. I mean, it is just, yeah, the camera cannot do it justice. It is just an extraordinary paint job.
I saw that car when you had it at Luff's one time. This is some years ago, and no, it's an impressive little paint job.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
All righty. When you how to feed and care for your Carrera, I tend to buy the digital ones for the simple reason the digital ones cost like $5 more or something, and you get lights. And I like, for the Carrera cars, I like lights. The problem that you have, though, is you end up with all this stuff. It puts a tremendous amount of wiring on it. So the Porsche 917 Carrera that I have is just about impossible to put together. There are too many wires in it. The drawback of the digital, I don't know if anybody has ever had a digital Carrera. You can run them in analog by holding them on the track, and squeezing the trigger controller 3 times. It's like Alice in Wonderland. It's, you know, you click your heels 3 times. That actually sets the digital chip so it allows you to run the car on analog. The one problem that I find the one problem that I find with the digital is even when you run it in analog, the digital chip still controls the braking. So you will find if you run a digital Carrera car on analog, it'll almost lock up the back wheels. Never mind how you've set your controller. It just, the brakes are just brutal. So what I normally do is I want the digital part for the lights, but I don't want the digital part on the motor. So I had some more wires. In the lead from the braids, I put an extra tap in it, and then I keep the original wire plugged into the digital chip, and I put an extra wire and run it directly to the motor. I've had some spare of these Carrera wires, so I put the little plug in here, but there's no reason why you cannot just put a splice in the guide lead wires and just run it, solder it straight to the motor. That way, you have the advantages of the lights, but the digital chip doesn't mess around with the braking. If you take a look at this car, really, in terms of preparation and modification, the 2 things that I've really done is just to glue appropriate urethanes on the back. And I'm going to see if I can focus. Is the picture in good enough focus for you guys?
Yep.
Okay. So the one thing that I did was to glue and true the urethanes. Larry was saying that before, I'm not sure if everybody was here when he said it. He's not sure if the wheels are much good. Guys, for a Carrera car, quite frankly, most of them, I don't think I've ever had. I had one that was terrible, but for the most part, the bushings and the axles and the wheels are good enough that if you glue on a pair of urethanes and true them properly, and I'm talking about properly truing them on a truer, not just sanding them on the car on the track, because sanding do you know what I mean when I say sanding it on the track?
Yep.
All you do is, here I have a piece of white sandpaper. You put it on the track, somebody holds the throttle down, and you just on the sandpaper. That typically removes high spots and things like that, but the problem is it doesn't really make the tire concentric with the axle and truly round. So if you have bad wheels, you can salvage them mostly on a decent truer, but not by sanding them on the track. So this car, I gave the lap times, but it was faster than my slotted Jaguar Group C on Luff's track. And that is the way that you see it now. It has, I'm trying to think of anything. I have not replaced anything on this car. It's absolutely stock parts as it comes. The only thing that I did was tires, did this little mod over here, and body float. Body float is a bit of a problem with Carreras. If you take a look at the body mounts on the chassis over here, if you look carefully, you can see there was it's a socket that the body post fits into it. So it's like a mortise and pestle or whatever, a mortise and tenon joint. Not mortise and, so it actually, it's a piece of the body post fits inside that socket. So unless you cut all of the socket part away, you're never going to get decent body float on it. So that's one of the things to be very much aware of. The other stuff is just the regular trimming, trimming around the back edges, trimming around the front edges, wherever it is necessary. The most important thing I find is over here. And a lot of this one perhaps not so much, but frequently you find with Carrera cars, there's all kinds of raised details on the chassis that if you take a look at where they go inside the body, they interfere with the body. And things like this raised stuff over here, you can grind that away, no problem. It's not going to weaken the chassis. Remember, the part of the chassis that you want to have strong is the part here between the back of the motor shaft and the axle. So if you remove some extraneous material on some of these other edges over here, that's not going to cause you any problem. So I find that it takes me longer to get the body float, proper body float with Carrera cars than with any other car that I have. They fit together with German precision, yeah? It is, we will make it perfect, yeah? It will fit in there that they cannot take the damn thing apart ever, yeah? So it takes a ton of work. So the two important things that you have to do, tires and body float. For the rest, the other oddity is this guide system. It's awful. What are you showing us there? Carrera guide adapters. Yes, there were some wonderful adapters made by a guy called Bob Novak. He sold what was called B-Nova adapters. But these days you get all kinds of 3D printed guide adapters that you can use. You can see, for those of you that haven't used them, if you take a look, the whole guide thing here is a big round thing. By the way, the guide blade comes out. So if you take a look at this now, you'll see that there's a whole round thing over there, and it's held down with, it's about a 2 kilogram assembly on the front here. And it's not great. It really isn't great. But then again, this is a pretty fast car. It has a Carrera guide on it, so it does work. But if you do want to improve it, then pretty much you're forced to go the adapter. Ross, it looked like the packet that you held up there looked like a
EG slot cars.
And you got it from the Slot Car Corner, or?
Probably.
Because CG, they're one of the common 3D printing guys. I actually met the owner at the Michigan 24 Hours. A very nice guy. Matt, what's Matt's last name? I can't remember. But yeah, so that is always an option, but it's a fair amount of work.
Yeah, it is.
It really is a chunk of work. And really, I mean, the rest of the basics of the car. Do you want to change the rear axle? It's no problem because it takes standard slotted bushings. You can change the rear end, no problem, because all you need is a slotted axle, some slotted bushings, some metal wheels, a slotted gear, and you can plonk it in there. This is my Maserati MC12. It is about twice the length of an average 132nd slot car. Okay, I exaggerate, but
Yeah, it's a long one.
it's a monstrously big car.
It is. It is.
And it's it actually it's this car is actually pretty. Carreras, all their cars tend to be very close to scale. So this thing is it was just a monstrous car in real life. So this is one of the cars I had at the track today that that I did the 7.45 second lap with. Now, okay, it has a slotted 29,000 RPM motor. Is that important? No, because I could have just cranked up. I was running this at like under 11 volts. I could just, if I had the old motor in there, I could just have been running it at 12 or 12 and a half volts. The front you can also change relatively easily if you want to improve that, but it has pretty much all of the Carrera cars have bronze bushings on the front axle. If you dig through all of these cables over here, you can see there are some bronze bushings there. So typically not critical to replace bushings and so, but so it's easy to improve the front end by putting metal wheels, take off the plastic wheels, put on metal wheels if you want. This one has its plastic wheels. This one still has its plastic wheels, and I haven't even trued them. But this car is about 12 years old and the tires are falling apart. I have a rash of tire failures at the moment.
Yeah.
It's some of them go hard and brittle, and others go gooey. These on the Maserati are all cracked and hard. So I'll have to replace them. I think some of the slotted zero grips should fit in here perfectly. My monogram Mustang, when I picked up the car, the tire was sort of drooping down in front. It went all soft and gooey. So interesting on the tires. These cars, if you do not change the guide, it will run on the front tires, unequivocally. Also, the guide will not be fully engaged. All of those are normally not good things. So will you get a significantly better result? So this is what my Cheetah looks like with too much glue, but this has a B-Nova adapter and a slotted guide. And these tires have also gone rock bloody hard. And the Cheetah has these floppy independent front wheels. So this is an uncommon one. But for the rest, by the way, this Cheetah also runs beautifully. And it's pretty much, other than the guide, it still has the plastic wheels and the whole shebang. Does it? Yes, it still has all the plastic wheels. And it has the floppy front independent axle. So, yeah, change the, if you do replace the guide with a holder and a regular slotted guide, what you have to do is get the braid on the guide in this thing, get the car set down, and then put this, squish it in, you know, from the bottom, and then set it up so that the wheels are approximately at the right height. So that is a bit of a thing if you want to do that. All good so far?
Yep.
Hey, Alwyn,
Yes, sir.
can I show you a picture of an alternative guide to these Carreras?
I would be glad for the guidance.
Hang on a second.
And guys, as you may have realized, I'm not convinced that it's necessary to replace the guide.
Let's see if this works. So this thing, I don't know if you can see that.
Is that
This
a
is a-
slotting?
This is a
Slotting
fly. It's a fly racing guide.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just slipped in there. And if you look at the other side,
Hard to
all I
see.
did is I took out, is that better?
Yeah.
I took out the original Carrera guide, and it's sandwiched in the middle of it. There's the little thingy that bolts into place. And all I did is I put that back on. I took everything else out. And then I slipped the fly racing guide. It's just a snap-in guide. I just snapped it right in there. So
Oh,
it has, you can see it has a little bit of movement. Maybe you can't see.
oh, so it has vertical movement.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to bother anything. And it took out, so all the extraneous nonsense at the front of the car is now all gone.
Hmm.
I haven't tested it yet. We'll see how it works.
Okay, no, that's, I'll try that. Thanks very much, Blair, just for gits and shiggles. Just to see how it, because I've got some guides that I could fit in there. One suggestion that I would, seeing as you have some vertical play on that there, what I would do is shim the guide to the right height. And so that you can, to the best of your ability, get it that the front wheels are just touching. If you're going
Yeah, it's not too bad. The wheels do have a tiny bit of spin to them, but a washer underneath the guide would probably raise it just enough to make it just about right.
yeah, so that's you know, I've got some NSR. I use some NSR guide shims, but you can use anything similar. I mean, similar.
Yep.
So there's any number of those that can work.
So you haven't had any problem with that extra long guide hanging up in the corners yet?
No, most Carreras come with an extra guide on the bottom. The monster one, I think it's just a touch shorter than the average slot car. Maybe I exaggerate a bit. I don't bother with those. I've not found, using the stock guide as it is with this BMW, for instance, I've not found it a drawback. I haven't found it any time that I felt, oh, this is a problem, I need to replace the guide. It's doing its job, to my mind, perfectly adequately. So my suggestion would be, try it with a guide as it is, and see how it goes. If it really, I'm not a big believer in mega deep guides. If you have a decent portion of the guide in the slot, you have to tip the car an awfully long way before the guide blade comes out of the slot. You know, the car would have to be up on two wheels quite badly to raise the blade enough to get it out of the slot. Um, if you're driving like that, you're over driving it. I just don't. I'm not convinced, but that's me. We all have our personal hang-ups and opinions and thoughts. So I would really suggest try it with a stock setup and see how it goes. I'm trying to think, Larry, about the hanging up. I mean, the hanging up is because of, now let me pin my own video so that I can see what I'm saying. Does that sound right? See what I'm saying? The hanging up part, when it does hang up, it's because of the length from here to there.
Right.
It's a little bit thicker than the average guide, but not that much. So if it does hang up, just cut away a little bit on the front and the back. And voila, no more hangingness of the uppingness.
Right.
But I'm trying to remember which track it was. Was it Rogers? No, it wasn't Rogers' track. Somebody's track, the Tanex track. I had a couple of places at one stage where guides were hanging up. But no, I've not found it a common issue. Sorry. Now I have coffee here. I'm with Kevin, not with you, Ross. So
Okay.
you can't see it, but cheers. I'm having a bit of coffee.
I have tea. I don't have coffee. I'm with Ross.
There you
In
go.
other words, I'm the moron.
No,
No, I'm the odd person out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm used to that.
No question. No question.
It looks like you haven't changed the braids on that either, have you?
No, it's yeah, it still has you can see it still has the same funny braid arrangement.
Right.
Obviously this car, when I changed the guide, it looks like some slotted braid, some tin slotted braid. I'm holding it badly. So yeah, not a big issue. Not a big issue. And really, guys, quite frankly, that's what I find all that is needed. The important thing, obviously, is tires properly glued and trued. The next one that gives you the most work is to find all the pinch points for body float. And I also find the plastic that Carrera makes their chassis out of is hard to cut and grind with a Dremel. It's a very hard plastic. So it takes longer to get good body float on a Carrera than on any other brand of car, to my mind. So yeah, tires, body float, guide if you want, but I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Changing the wheels if you want, but I wouldn't lose sleep over it. And because with this car, you can see I added a thin piece of lead at the bottom. This is probably like 8 grams or so. With this one, I have nothing, no weight. But this was when I started 12 years ago with slot cars. And you can see I used JB Weld to glue the motor in. So if this motor dies, I'm not sure what I'm going to do because getting the motor out of here is going to be all but bloody impossible. So that pretty much is what I do with my Carreras. I typically don't put a lot of weight in them on the GT style cars because they're big and heavy in any case. And I'm trying to remember what I have in this Cheetah. But I think I have with a Cheetah, I think I have some lead just in front of the motor over here, and that's probably it. Also probably 7 grams or something like that. How does that sound compared to your experiences with Carreras?
Don't know. I don't have any Carreras.
I don't know, I found the old ones, I felt that the motors didn't have that much braking ability. Like when you, when we used to try and run them at Lufts in Vancouver, they wouldn't brake anywhere near as good as a scale electric or a slotted. But that's,
I'm trying to remember now. I have so many cars, I can't remember, but quite possible that those E200 motors or whatever, their power is similar to a Scaly or Fly motor, maybe a little less. But yeah, I can't remember. The monograms I can remember didn't want to stop.
right. Likewise, the FK 180s, they put in the 124s, they have absolutely no power at all.
They're not FK 180s, they're bigger. They're monster motors. And they're designed that the Carrera 124th track system uses something like 18 volts.
Right.
So yeah, I finally replaced the motor on one of my Carrera on the Corvette because it was just a dog. The Ferrari P4, I still have the old motor. I just run it at whatever maximum volts I can get out of the system. But yeah, they're dogs.
Yeah, so they're almost easier to tune than a slotted.
They have fewer variables, Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tremendously solid. The chassis have no flex in them.
Yeah, I can see that playing with this one. Very
And
little.
that to me is not a problem.
No.
Typically, they're 1/24th cars. If you remove all the screws, you end up with about 200 screws in your hand and weighing a kilogram. They just build them differently. You know, they're engineered products. And the 1/32 are sort of kind of similar. They're very precise, exact. Their tolerances are tight. Everything is, you know, everything fits together beautifully, typically. They're way over engineered. They're too complicated, and the way that the chassis and the body fits together is great if you want to have a work of art. But if you want to have movement, it's a nightmare because it takes you an hour to grind it, to find everywhere that needs to be ground away and then grind it away.
Well, I think the monogram have same kind of like mount points, like with the when you called it a socket. And with those cars, what I do is I just turn that, so I don't grind the little flanges off. I just turn it into a ball socket. I radius the little things on the chassis, and then the bottom post. I just radius that part there, and then I just chamfer away on the like the male portion of the body post, and you seem to get it works quite nicely. But I can see all these extra little bits on the chassis that you have to grind off because I don't have a digital one. So I've got all these pieces that are sticking up everywhere, and obviously headlight holders and things, which I don't need. So yeah, you can see a lot of that stuff would interfere with body flow.
Yeah, so it just needs a lot of careful attention to grind and test fit and grind and test fit and look for places where it interferes and clean it up there and sand it here. It's just
Ah.
It's not rocket science. It's just a bit more laborious than with other brands.
I have plenty of patience myself. Not a problem.
Yeah, I'm somebody that's used to working on aircraft. I would
No,
hope that you'd have more patience than most of us too.
well, it's just a, yeah, it's a mindset thing. You sit down expecting to take a long time, and you take a long time. Have
Yes.
a couple of cups of coffee or tea.
Yeah, and if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
Yeah.
Well, especially in airplanes,
Oh
people
well.
tend to get very upset when they fall out of the sky.
Yeah, or else they just come back to the gate a couple of times. That tends to piss people off.
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
no good either.
No, texting out. Sorry, people, we've got to go back again.
Sorry, the other thing that I didn't mention in terms of body float, it's a good idea to the body screws, the body mounting screws are typically a very tight, snug fit. So it's well worth replacing the body screws with good, smooth shank body screws. You all have a supply of those, I trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're one of the. If a car doesn't have them, that's probably one of the first things that you have to replace. If you replace anything, that's one of the things that you have to replace.
Early days, I would grind the little cheap screw so that it had kind of a smooth shaft portion there, but what a pain in the butt. It's
Yes,
just,
that is an absolutely shankless task.
it is, isn't it? So you're much better off just to spend a couple of bucks and buy some.
Yeah, and the slot car corner, those SCC screws are just a lifesaver. They're the best things since sliced bread.
Kind of nice. So
That's pretty much
it, huh?
that's it for me. It's not rocket science. It's pretty darn simple.
Yeah. You want to turn that chassis over, Elvin,
Oops.
please? I guess it's just the light because it looks like you've got a piece of lead in that little compartment right at the back of the, yeah, right in there.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah, it's just the light, Ross.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Oh, yeah.
It's misleading. Misleading.
Yes.
Ha, ha,
Yes,
ha.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so this really, the only weight that it has is this, which I would suspect is around about 7 or 8 grams. And because the car is relatively high, you can get away with, I have very thin lead sheeting that you know, sticky, that I stick on the bottom of the cars. That's a good place to have it, especially with you know, the Carrera bodies are quite, this one is not as bad as some of the others. Some of them are incredibly heavy. This one is actually not that bad.
It's not a big heavy body. It's not a big body.
But it is slightly high, so it needs a little bit of weight low down. But I mean, if you take a look at the Maserati, is also, this is actually pretty simple. Some of their other bodies are way more heavy and complicated with little pieces, you know, little injection molded parts that fit here and fit there and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, Owen, can you turn the chassis over again for a second? Okay, on mine, I've actually got, wasn't that that's like a magnet just before the wheels, right?
There, oops. Yes. You can see the attraction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you look at mine, I've actually got a couple of, there's 4 screws. There's 2 in front of the motor and 2 behind the motor, and each one of them, I think, is a magnet.
And that was what I was trying to comment on earlier, Larry. That is typical Carrera. You don't mold something in the plastic that the magnet just fits. No, you mold a recess with all kinds of shapes and curves in it, and then you have an injection molded cover plate, and sometimes you have shims in there, and it's held with these big electroplated screws. So it's no wonder that their cars, I don't know if, have you weighed that car? It's probably about 90 grams.
Yeah, the screw.
You got a scale handy, but yeah, both of those are magnets on there. So if I really wanted to, I could turn around and take those out if I need to lower the weight. But down below like that, that's good weight anyway. So usually, so
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can you can leave it there. I mean, I see there's no reason to bother with it. It's just sometimes they have some screws above the chassis higher up that they do all kinds of strange things with, and those I sometimes would remove.
Hmm.
That is an older car because that has the small chip.
no, this is a non-chip unit.
Oh, I
You looking
thought I
at
saw a chip.
you looking at that one, Alan?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, that's the older.
That's not a digital one.
Okay.
Yeah. Not digital.
Yeah, mine wasn't digital either. I don't have the lights, which would be nice to have. But
Yeah, as I say, because the price difference is so small, and I'm not going to try and make a Carrera that's going to be faster than an NSR. So I'm prepared to pay the penalty for the weight and the complexity to have the prettiness of the lights.
Yeah, they do look good.
Yeah. So it's but yeah, if I were to go all out for performance, I'd probably just pull all of that stuff out and replace some other parts. But as I say, typically a Carrera with a little bit of care and attention runs nice and smoothly and quietly, and the only thing that you have to be careful of, if it comes off the track and off the table and it falls on the floor, it can sometimes crack the concrete because it's a little bit heavy. What have you got there, Blair?
This is a Carrera BMW M6 that has had all of the extraneous crap stripped out of it.
So all you have left is around an M3.
Kinda.
Never stops, Blair. It never stops.
It never stops. So, yeah. So I haven't tested this car yet, but I can tell you that I stripped 31 grams off of it.
Oh,
That is absolutely typical Carrera.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. Can you show us the body, please, Blair? I've not seen the M6 yet.
Pardon my spotlight. I don't know if you can really see that.
It looks like a US model.
Yeah, no kidding. Pardon my black fingers. I'm been painting.
What is the detail and finish like on the car, Blair?
It's very good. Yeah, I can't see what we're looking at, but yeah, it's very, very good. If I can get the car to run well, it's going to go for a paint job.
Yeah, that looks a little bit US-y.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know. There's no stripes, but the stars are there, and the chassis cleaned up reasonably. So we'll see what it does.
Well, if you could just get those stars in alignment, maybe it'll go beautifully.
Yeah, maybe. But
I would think that car would go well. I really would suspect that car should go very well.
I think it should. You know, all the extra, where am I at here? All the extra nonsense is gone, and you know, it's very lean. The car still weighs about 95 grams, but it's weight balanced. It's low. There's no nonsense. Everything's tight and smooth.
Yeah.
So we'll see what it does.
You see, that's exactly what I like about the Carreras. You can get a car like that, which is less expensive than pretty much anything. It costs less than a Scaly. It costs less than just about any car you can buy. And it's a beautifully finished car. And with a little bit of just simple tweaks, you can have a car that'll run very, very nicely. I mean, as I said, don't go and expect that you're going to beat all the NSRs and the Slottets and the Thunder slots out there, but you get a car that is smooth, quiet, runs nicely, and looks good for not much money. I love it.
Yeah, I know. At Tanix there was like a endurance kind of a race some time ago. Milo showed up with a Carrera DTM car,
Yes,
and that went extremely well, straight out of the box.
yes.
Yeah, impressed.
Yeah, that's when he won at the Christmas Challenge.
Was that right?
Yeah.
It went really well. I was so impressed with that damn thing.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that I forgot about that. That was great. That to me represents the best of Carrera.
Yeah, straight out of the box. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, you
Anyway.
would never get
I
a
think he had
Scaly.
tires on it, didn't he?
Pardon?
I think he had tires on it.
Yeah, but I don't think I think it was new, so I don't even think he glued or trued them.
Yeah, I think he just plonked on some urethanes and off he went.
I think so. He might have just got lucky, but it did go good.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, what's the time?
How do you like your new Lola Thunder slot there, Alwyn?
The Lola, the
McLaren,
The blue one.
the McLaren.
Is that a McLaren?
Yeah, it's a McLaren.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, the Sunoco.
oh
Isn't it?
yes, well that's McLaren M6A.
Oh, okay.
I think it is one of the prettiest cars. I just think it's drop dead gorgeous. The finish on the thing, the paint on it, you know, the pinstriping is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is way too big for an M6, but I mean I don't think you can get a prettier slot car than this. And yes, it is. I've not even added weight to mine, and I'm trying to remember what kind of lap time I did, but it was like a 6.8 second lap on Tanix, which is absurdly fast. If you let's see, McLaren M6A Thunder slot, 6.9. So that is, yeah. And I love the McLaren Elva as well.
Which one did you get, Owen? The red or the black?
The black.
The black one? That's a good one.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gorgeous. It's likewise just, it's in one of my drawers here. It's again, that one was even faster.
Really?
The McLaren Elva, I did a 6.783 on 10Xs. I mean, anything under 7 is blindingly fast. Anything under 6.8 is just obscenely fast. So it's yeah.
Is
So
it
Larry,
used-
I think they're making very, very pretty cars, overscale, accepted, and with essentially no changes to them. They are just phenomenally fast.
What kind of, does it have a different chassis, the Alva to the M6?
The dimensions might be slightly different, but in appearance, geez, now where?
You got to dig in, got to find it within that 500 slot car collection. Tough to find, and it's black too.
Yes.
It's hiding.
How embarrassing is that?
Now you see, if they had have had an orange one, or if you had have bought the red one, you might have found it easier.
Yeah. Wait a moment, maybe it's with my Can-Am cars. Which would
Yeah, how have you got them categorized? Brand, alphabetically?
Typically by manufacturer. And,
Okay.
I mean real car, like all my Porsches are together, all my Ferraris are together. But after that, it's by race class, like Formula Ones.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit inconsistent.
So look under the C's, Owen. Look under the C box lineup.
Clearly, I would have to set up an inventory system that I can reference which drawer, because I'm not doing very well at the moment. I'm not finding it.
Oh dear.
Maybe it's still in your box from this morning.
No, I didn't have the over there. No.
See what happens, Larry, when you buy just too many?
Yeah.
This
And
is,
you have too many?
I've
For me?
I don't know,
And you
guys.
have too many
I
slot
don't.
cars?
Well,
Yeah, I don't see a problem here.
500, it's a little hard to keep track of one or two.
So if you take a look at these,
That's pretty close, isn't it?
I wouldn't be too surprised. There's little detail differences on the little front pieces here,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't be too surprised if you'd be able to swap the chassis around. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
I think they're probably, because the wheelbase is exactly the same.
Yeah, seeing like, I'm just wondering why the Alva would be quicker than the M6. I was thinking maybe the chassis just a little different, but
No, it's because slot cars are very annoying and frustrating.
yeah, I know. I'll race one. It's my best car this week. I take the same car next week and it's a dog.
Yeah, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. But I mean, both of these cars in appearance, unbelievable. I think they're, you know, the level of detail, the finish, the fit, everything is extraordinarily good. Yes, they're too big, but they look fantastic and they fly.
Mm. Mm. So there you have fit and everything is good on the expensive one and the cheap one. It's just the performance.
They all have a place.
Yeah, they
Because
do.
you can only have one fastest car, as I always say.
I got several. It just depends on the day that I'm racing.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Well, gentlemen, is
Okay,
that
sounds
about
good.
it for this evening?
Hey,
Oh, that's
Blair,
good.
how are you finding with your stalkers there? Have you taken them apart to look at, see what they're like inside to cut them down, or
Sorry, what's that, Larry? I couldn't hear.
on Blair's?
Oh,
I was asking him how he's doing with his stock, 2 new ones that he got. His stock-
The Matra Simca and the Plymouth.
Oh, the Plymouth and the whatever, the
Yeah.
Carreras.
Yeah, well, they're all ready to go. So the Plymouth was a Carrera, so it's been cleaned up and tuned. All I did is make sure it had good float, put tires on it, trued all 4 tires, and gave it some weight tuning. And I'm going to see what it does. I didn't lower the car at all, so I don't know what I'll get there. And then the Carrera BMW M6 is ready for testing. We'll see what it does. And that's the one that I just showed you. And I literally took 31 grams out of that car. It weighed 128 grams, so it's still a heavy car. But 31 grams worth of stuff came out of the inside of that car. And then the other one is a slotted Matra Simca, and it really didn't need much at all. I had to shim the axles because they were a little bit, they were too close, they were too far inboard. So I shimmed them out a little bit, and it's a sidewinder, so I couldn't rely on that to locate the axle. And then the only other thing I did is some weight tuning, and that car, everything about that car says it should be pretty fast. So we'll see what it does. They're all ready to go. I'll test them on Friday.
When you do your weight tuning, where are you putting the weight to lower the CG on the Carreras?
Oh, they're all different. It just depends. You got to make sure it's under the axle. On some of them, like on the BMW M6, it's under the axle but inside the chassis, and it's just a millimeter behind the front axle. And on the Plymouth, what did I do with the Plymouth? Yeah, the Plymouth is inside as well. And the Matra Simca, I put the weight right under the front valence, under the chassis on that one, because it's already a very low car. But yeah, every car is a little bit different. I do like Ross does and just do the whole finger test front to rear, and I set them up so that they're roughly 50-50. That's me. And other than that, I just make sure that the weight is, you just want to have more weight below the axle than above the axle. And if you got that, they seem to do okay.
Right.
Blair, I actually, when you sent out that email a couple of years ago, I started preparing this Matra for the Can-Am series proxy, but then the proxy got cancelled.
Yeah.
So it's, but yeah, it's all that I've done there. You can see I got the pod taped, and it's just, I put some wider wheels on the back. The fronts are coated, and there's a little bit of lead on the pod, and it is very, very quick.
Yeah, they really don't need too much by way of tuning. It's like the Group C cars. They just need some care and attention. They don't need a whole bunch of major surgery.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was interesting to see Chris replied to your email there too, with that Lucky Strike car.
Yeah.
I think that's the one I raced at Luff's place. It was a proxy, and I'm pretty sure that one had a Piranha motor in it because of the rules.
Right.
And that was a magnificent little car to drive. Damn, I like that thing.
Yeah, everything I was reluctant to buy it, but I got it for I think $37 or something like that.
Yeah.
And everything because I don't find them to be that attractive. Those
No, they're
models.
not.
But I everything I read about it said that, like, I found lots of opinions on the forums and stuff of people saying that Matra was one of Slotted's best cars. So
I
thought,
think
okay,
so, yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, for sure. Do that.
Sure is funny looking though.
It is pretty strange.
Yeah, it's
I don't
so
have one.
old-fashioned looking.
Nope, it's just funny looking.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. It's just, it does nothing for me appearance-wise. So when I got it for the proxy, I only got it because the dimensions are right, everything is right. it should be a quick car.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, I have a ton of cars that I bought because I like the look of them. The Plymouth is a good example of that. That car's never going to be super fast, but it sure is nice to look at.
Yeah,
At least I think it is.
yeah. Good classic stuff. Good classic stuff.
Uh,
Anyway, I'm gonna go and start cooking up my dinner. Thank you,
Okay.
Alwyn.
Me too.
It's a pleasure. Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Excellent.
Have a lovely,
Yeah, I'm gonna go too. Thanks, Owen.
have
Yeah.
a lovely rest of the week.
Take
You
care,
too.
guys.
Bye.
See you guys.
Take care.
Okay.